Welcome to our community discussion today. Today we have Pastor Morgan, our usual guest, and also we have Mercy Amakobe, who is a nurse, and she just got vaccinated. So she will tell us about how she felt when she got vaccinated and why everybody else should get vaccinated. Today we're continuing with the topic of mitigating the hesitancy amongst the Black and Indigenous and people of color from adopting biomedical research because of historical reasons. So I'll just go straight to Mercy. You introduce yourself since you are the new guest, and then we go to Pastor Morgan, then we continue.
I am Mercy Amakobe. That person right there that is organizing the meeting is my father. And I am a registered nurse. I currently work for Frederick Memorial Hospital. So we were among the initial, in Maryland, Frederick County, we were among the, initial people to receive the Pfizer vaccines. Apparently we received only 975 vaccines. And so in the spring, I was among the crew that worked initially with the COVID patients. And then our unit had to go back to the elective cardiac catheterization because we were kind of losing money. So now the COVID patients went to different units. So last week, when we got the Pfizer vaccines, they decided that the nurses that were taking care of the COVID patients should initially get vaccinated. So they all got vaccinated, and then the ICU got vaccinated initially, and then our unit. So our manager just sent out mass texts asking if there's anybody that would like to get vaccinated, because there's vaccines still available after the people that are working directly with the COVID patients had received them. So I was like, this morning I was like, sure, I can get one. I texted my friend who is also a registered nurse and asked her if she got the vaccine. And she told me she did, and she had no symptoms whatsoever. Nothing happened to her. So I was like, oh, well, that's a good situation. So I'll probably end up going to get the vaccine. So I had a class this morning, and I ended up passing by the classroom where the vaccination was being given. And they asked, do you want to get a vaccine? I said, yes. So I went in and got the vaccine. And here I am 2 hours later, running errands. Nothing's going on with me. But so what I want to say is, when I got the flu vaccine, I actually felt sicker than when I just got the COVID vaccine. When I got the flu vaccine, I literally started freaking out because I felt sicker. I felt like my face was number, and I was just like, I'm getting a panic attack. And I was like, no, let me take a deep breath and just go home and relax. And it took 2 days for me to feel better from the flu vaccine. But the COVID vaccine, here I am, and I'm actually not feeling anything. But tomorrow, they tell you to just watch 24 hours and see how the vaccine will do. So tomorrow I might be able to say, hey, I had a fever or not. They give you Tylenol, and then you sit for 15 minutes and wait, so that they can see whether you're going to have a reaction or not.
Mercy, how you said you took care of COVID patients in the spring.
Yes.
How do you feel now, considering that during the spring everybody was riding blind without protection? Now that you've got the vaccine, do you feel a little more confident taking care of your patients now, or going forward?
I feel like I'll feel more confident after the second shot.
Okay.
So yeah, I feel like
you mean you have to take a shot today, and then you after how many days?
21 days.
Okay. You just hold your thought a little bit. Let me go to Pastor Morgan, then we'll come back to you. Hey, Pastor Morgan, what do you think?
Okay.
I think that's quite a very fascinating and interesting story. And Mercy, Kudus, congratulations. That's the way to go. I think that the vaccine itself is here now. My major challenge is the messaging in terms of having to be transparent and honest in communication and in allowing people express their hesitancy and accommodate that. One of the things I picked up from what Mercy had said is that she called her friend, who is a registered nurse, and asked her if she has gotten the vaccine, and she said yes. So there is this stretch of the necessity for people who are indigenous people and Black people and people of color to try to encourage one another. I think that her friend speaking to her was a boost for her to say, okay, if my friend had gotten it as much as I was deciding to get it, let me go ahead and still get it. So I think that one of the things or one of the ways we are going to mitigate this is that as people of color and in people, who have indigenous status, and as we get vaccinated, we need to spread the news. We need to be honest within our community, how you felt, if you want to take to social media and encourage people, I've gotten the vaccine, 24 hours has come and gone, I have no side effect. People who know you will believe that much more than just looking at our president-elect taking the vaccine. As important as that is, you don't have any political agenda behind you right now taking the vaccine. You're just doing it as a precaution for your own life and for your community. So I think that's a great thing. And congratulations and thank you for your service.
And Mercy, now you see, looking at
Thank
the
you.
data, looking at the data, the people are hesitant to take the vaccine because they think there's something wrong with it, or how are you going to make sure that other people who know you, who trust you, can be able to take the vaccine? Are you hearing me, Mercy? She's frozen. Hello? Okay, she's. Pastor Morgan, what I'm saying, Mercy, did you hear me?
No, I didn't. You kind of went out, actually.
Okay, what I'm saying, now that you have taken the vaccine, how are you going to make sure that the people who know you and trust you also take the vaccine? Because as a provider, as a healthcare worker, getting vaccine is okay, but the other people need to take the vaccine so that you don't have a lot of patients coming to your side. So how are you going to make sure that other people know about this so that they can be able to trust and come and take the vaccine when it's available to them?
If you look at my phone, the moment I got the vaccine, I sent it out to everybody that's on my cell phone that I got the vaccine. And it's so funny because what Pastor Morgan was saying is, how are we, like, just the trust issue from all that we've had about, syphilis and how, the Tuskegee and everything, how African Americans, indigenous people have been hesitant to believe and trust in not necessarily the science, but the government itself.
Mm-hmm.
So they feel like, hey, we don't know what's going on. We are not sure what's going on. And how dare you try to see if we are the first ones to get inoculated? Like, we don't trust you from before, Okay. So I sent my picture to one of my friends who is African American, and he is a totally against the government and totally against, getting vaccinated. And the first question he asked me was, what is in the vaccine? How can you go and get it? How do you trust that you're not gonna they're not inoculating different stuff that can cause a lot of harm to you? And I said, I have read about what are the ingredients in the vaccines are. So I understand what the ingredients are, and I understand your hesitancy. But you know what? Like, I will tell you if I feel something horrible. I'll tell you if I have any side effects. I'll let you know, But for me, I feel like if I'm working with COVID patients, this is another layer of protection for me, you know. I told him, you don't have to worry about that a lot. But for me, other than having the PPE, this is another layer of protection so that I don't have to, get exposed if I'm working with a high, rate of COVID patients, So
Yeah, but you see, that particular person is amongst a lot of people.
yes.
So we have to find a way to speak to them such that they get the vaccine and they don't increase the load in the hospital. You understand? So the other layer of protection you could have, or all the healthcare workers could have, is to ensure that nobody gets the COVID-19 by being vaccinated. So I just want to see your thoughts about how to message to that particular person so that they can actually move towards getting the vaccination.
I feel like it's just them like trusting me and watching what my effects are going to be with the vaccine. Because
Okay.
I feel like there's no other way I will be able to convince them to get a vaccine once it's out for the public, you know? I just don't feel like there's a way I can actually say, you need to get it. There's nothing wrong. And truth be told, everybody has an adverse reaction on their own and their
Mhm.
body works differently. So just because I might not have a fever or maybe a nosebleed or maybe a headache with the vaccine does not mean that the next person will not have like an adverse reaction, you know, to the vaccine. So the only thing to do is either that person, those people themselves have to have the courage to get the vaccine, or they have to understand that it's not meant to be against them, but it's meant to protect them. So once they get that idea of, hey, we're trying to protect you and we're trying to help the masses not die of this disease, then they can understand it better and get vaccinated. So it's going to be a hard convincing to do, you know, you know,
But
one
one that we need to do, because Pastor Morgan, like Mercy says, she's moved against her standing going to get the vaccine. She talks to a friend and the friend says, I can't do it because I don't know what is in there. How do we work it so that we reach that 70% that is required to make sure that everybody has had immunity?
Excuse me. I agree with Mercy. I think this is not just going to be by solo persuasion. You just persuade and persuade and persuade or argue with people. I think that messaging is the key. And then practical example is another key, and transparency is another key. And there is something that everybody has in common, no matter how hesitant he or she may be or they may be when it comes to this issue of vaccination. It is the idea of being altruistic, to be one who can protect, help, and serve his or her community. If we can find a way to wrap the message of vaccination around the idea of being altruistic, of being someone who is a helper at the long run, over 300 and something thousand people have died. These are families. Some of them we may know, some of them somebody who we know knows them. So if we can create the picture of this is not just about you alone, this speaks fundamentally to the core of your life as an individual who live a life to protect others, to help others, it will resonate. We must find ways to contextualize our message in a way it can resonate in their heart and speak to their truth, speak to their identity, speak to some of their persuasions in life. So we need to find a way to do that. I think that what Mercy had done is very, very great to put her information out there and say, hey, I'm going to come back to you. If I feel anything, I'll come back to you. I'll keep it honest. I'll keep it transparent. I think that level of messaging from someone who is trusted, who looks like them, and who understand their fears is going to go a long way to begin to break the mold. But also on a final note, we must not be pushy on this. People must be allowed to take their time. Because once you start pushing people, they feel that is something that you're not trying to tell them. So let them make
Yeah.
informed decisions based on the facts that they've processed, based on the truth that they've encountered, based on the convictions of their heart. I think with that level of messaging and involvement, we're going to make an inroad into the Black community and indigenous people and people of color.
So basically what you
And in the
say,
meantime, we have to continue wearing masks.
yeah, okay, wear a mask, social distance, wash hands, and sanitize everywhere. The truth is we're going to do that. But I still have a feeling when you say that we need to give time, the problem is that we've just heard that there is a strain that is 70% more infectious coming in from UK. So
Yes.
that will increase the amount of people who are being infected. And the
Yes.
more people are infected, the more people, the ratio, even if the ratio remains the same, the number of people who die will increase. So I don't think that we have the time, we have the time to wait and let the people take the time until they make the decision to take the vaccine.
Yeah, but but you can't, you know, you can't, though you can't force anyone. You know, you really can't force anyone to do anything, you know. And that is the fear that a lot of people have, especially African Americans, is that they feel like the government tends to tell them exactly what they need to do, you know. So everybody should feel like it was their choice to do what they did, you know. Like I feel like it was my choice to get vaccinated. Nobody forced me. My hospital didn't mandate me. I just ended up getting vaccinated, you know. And as a nurse, you know, I know that it's a good thing to help the community, and the community trusts me, you know, trusts me and wants me to be there to be able to help and educate, you know. So if I'm able to help and educate, I can't educate anybody on COVID vaccines or the importance of vaccinating even children from the beginning if I don't get vaccinated myself, you know. But you have to understand, like going into nursing school, going into the hospital setting, we get a whole bunch of vaccines, just like the military does. So between the military and us, we get a whole bunch of vaccines. So it's not something new, you know, for nurses to get vaccinated, you know. And you know, the only thing I think we don't get vaccinated against is the anthrax. But other than that, you know, we get hepatitis B, and you can't even work at a nursing home without being vaccinated for hepatitis B, you know? So we get a whole bunch of vaccinations. And before you go into nursing school, you get vaccinated, you know. They look at titers, they look at whether you had chicken pox, whether you got vaccinated for it, or whether you know, all these vaccinations. So COVID-19, just because it's one of those, like, oh my goodness, this is the pandemic that we're living in, you know, or hey, we just formed this vaccine within 1 year or 9 months, and now all of a sudden you want to tell us it's going to work. You know, this is how smallpox and all this plagues were eradicated, by, you know, vaccinating. So somebody has to go and say, hey, we have to try and vaccinate. We have to try and see what's going on. So with the new strain, you know, I feel like influenza, we get vaccinated. So we try to look at the strain every year, like, hey, you know, what strain do we have this time? So we're going to form a vaccine for it. So I think within a few days, we should know what the strain is, and we should see what the vaccine companies, Pfizer, Moderna, and them are going to think about the new strain and what they're going to tell us about the vaccine that we are now receiving. You know, it's going to be a quick and long road, but you know.
What I'm saying that, do you think that, say, mandating people who work in, say, essential workers, basically that now if it's available, you cannot come to work without a vaccination, without being vaccinated, that would be a good thing?
No, that's not a good thing at all, because it infringes on somebody's right to know or to want what is inputted in their body, basically. You know, you can't force somebody to put something in their body which they don't believe or they don't trust to be okay. You know, a lot of healthcare workers though are like, I will receive the vaccine, but 2 years from now. You know, I don't want to be among the guinea pigs. So they're not refusing to get the vaccine, but they don't want to be mandated to get the vaccine early on because they don't trust it. They don't know what's going on with it.
Pastor Morgan, what do you think?
I agree with Marcy completely. You cannot mandate people to get vaccinated. This has to happen by way of messaging and persuasion. Those are the key elements here. Even those who are hesitant, we are talking about this hesitancy among us, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. We know our historical antecedents to this hesitancy. We know also the fears that we have when it relates to governmental policies. We also know that this virus is more devastating of our communities. We know also that the time frame was shrinked. That has been demystified as an ongoing research that has been a body of work done, scientific research over time that was built upon, and that the advancement of technology and science gave room for the time span. I think that it is important. One of the elements is, what are the components of this vaccine? I am going to suggest strongly that Pfizer and Moderna, they need to be transparent about it. It's not everybody who is going to read the medical journals. It's not everybody who is going to subscribe to one. It is important, if they want everybody to come on board with intention, to begin to speak to the exact elements or components of the ingredients of the vaccine. So,
if you go to Facebook on my profile, I put Pfizer. The ingredients are right there.
That is from you, Mercy. That needs to come from the companies who have produced this. They need to.
No. It's Pfizer. I shared a Pfizer ingredient.
Okay, so they've done that.
Yes.
Okay. So if they've done that, then that's a good thing,
Yeah.
But I think that the more such transparent communications are out there, it will help to demystify some of these hesitancies. So we cannot mandate anybody, but we need to engage in persuasive conversation, in transparent communication, and above all things, I've continued to state that every stakeholder within the community needs to be involved. We need not just to sit idly waiting for this thing to go away, but we need to be involved in the campaign, in the sensitization, in the information sharing, and in entertaining the questions as well as the fears of people and answering them to the best of our abilities.
Yeah.
I think that's right. If we can maintain it, but if we get the message across, because we have several bridges to cross. We have to make sure that people are vaccinated so that we get the 68 or 70%. We also have to make sure that the Black and Indigenous and people of color who are hesitant actually move away from being half to about that percentage. And we also have to convince them that the drug manufacturers and the government is not out to get them.
That is for sure. That is for sure. And that I want to go back a little bit to what you were earlier explaining, Dr. Amakobe. about the urgency and the necessity of understanding that time is of the essence. We understand that there are no two ways about it, that time is of the essence. But because of the already existing distrust as it relates to this vaccine and as it relates to the virus itself, I think it will be a disservice if we start pushing so vigorously the issue of time, to the point where people feel as though they're, the walls are closing in on them. Um, I think there would be a great need. I see the research you had posted of various demographic and age groups where they are.
Mhm.
So therefore, there is data existing out there as to the percentage. If we can start doing some targeted messaging about this vaccination, I'm not seeing that on television so far. I'm seeing just pictures of people who are getting vaccinated. I'm not seeing a lot of public health campaign in terms of advertisement, in terms of messaging, in terms of communication, in trying to persuade certain of those demography to begin to see the need to be part of this. The other thing that is a little bit troubling for me is that the government is spending a whole lot in the vaccine manufacturing. And I'm not sure how much they've allocated to the issue of public health information and desensitization, because this should be happening concurrently. The moment the vaccine is being released, the moment the public engagement is occurring with the same level of financial support within that sector to make sure that this thing is addressed. Having millions of vaccine vials that nobody want to take takes us nowhere. So I think that concurrently this should be going on, and I thank God that that's what we're doing here. But in a higher plane, it should be happening on every television advert on a major, major, major scale.
Yeah, but maybe once everybody that is supposed to get it, maybe after the essential workers and everybody, maybe we'll see actually what percentage of people would want to get the vaccine. Because to my knowledge, as of now, I don't think the vaccine is available to the public as of yet.
Mhm,
You
mhm.
know,
I
so
understand
that's
that, and
yeah.
that is the more reason why you don't wait until the vaccine is available. If I'm hesitant about an issue, I need to be spoken to early enough. I need to be engaged on time and in time so that my questions can be answered before it is my turn. If you wait until when it is my turn and you start addressing my question, I'm not going to be responding instantly. So that's still going to push the time factor. So I think that yes, it is decisions has been made by FDA advisory panel as to the systematic um, group of people, or rather how systematically it's supposed to be dispensed. You guys are getting in and all that and all that. But those who are hesitant the most are not just the nurses and the doctors and the essential workers. They are the everyday American, the everyday Black Americans who their turn is yet to come. So I don't think we waiting until their turn comes to start talking to them is a good idea.
Well, I feel like us getting it, like for example, me getting it and putting it on Facebook and telling people, hey, this is me. I got the vaccine day one. I feel like that's another way of convincing. So one person that is very hesitant can look at me and say, okay, well, this is day one. What happened? What happened on day two? Oh, she's fine. So I think I'm gonna get it because I saw Mercy got it and nothing happened to her. So it's also another form of like kind of convincing. I may not be able to talk to the whole mass, but at least 5 or 6 or 7 people will go, oh, you know what? Mercy got it, and this is day 5 or day 7, and nothing happened to her, you know? So I feel like we are trying, we're going there.
That,
You
that
know,
brings
it might not be enough to convince everybody.
that brings me to the point of we saw a lot of people getting vaccinated. We saw a lot of people getting vaccinated, and there was the argument that they are not essential workers, so they should give the vaccine to those people who are essential. What do you think on that one? Because we need to to show examples, but still we need to make sure that the people who need to get the vaccine get it. So there was an argument on social media saying that some senators who have been arguing that there is no COVID-19 are now taking pictures, taking the vaccine. What do you think?
I feel like that's a two-way thing. I feel like what is happening is the senators are either doing it politically or doing it for political reasons, or two, they're actually doing it so that they can convince the regular people that it's okay to do it if I did it. You know, I'm ahead and, you know, I'm the head of the house and it's okay to do it if I did it. So I think it depends on how you see it. My issue was when I saw another hospital that administrators who are at home and physicians who are maybe family practice or something like that. I'm not sure who they were or what they were, so I can't quote and I can't put. They were not actually doing any bedside care. They were not actually going to the patient's room. They were not doing any of that, but they were among the first people to receive the vaccine. You see, so that was, for me, that was an issue because the nurses that were at the front line should have received the vaccines before they did. Now, for the senators, I feel like that's a political issue, you know? And if it's not a political issue, it's like, hey, dad got it, so your children got it, have to have it, and it's not that bad. So I think that's.
Master, what do you think about that?
I agree with Marcy on that note, and I think that those who are classified as essential workers needs to be first in line, that the advisory council's stipulation about the stages of vaccination needs to be followed strictly. Politicians anti who were anti-vaccination and who were there saying everything they were saying about COVID not being real, jumping the line to get vaccinated, I do not approve of that, my personal opinion. The reason being that you can castigate a thing and at the same hand, turn around and say, okay, it's good, without even taking ownership of you having to have misled people. I would have believed that the right thing for them to do is to publicly apologize to Americans, for misleading people. I have been wrong all this while, and I am sorry for misleading you people. If they are trying to set an example. But if that's not the case and it is politically motivated, then they're not going to apologize to anybody. So it now throws more range of confusion in the mind of their constituents. If you told me it never existed, now you're taking the vaccine and you never told me why now you believe in it, then what do I believe? So I think that needs to be spoken against and discouraged. Let essential workers, let the advisory board stipulation be followed, and we'll be okay. I believe we'll be okay.
The argument is that the people that you are telling that there's no COVID-19, believe them. So when they see them taking the vaccine, they might show up to take the vaccine.
I disagree with that. I disagree with that. People are not robots. People are intelligent beings. People are not to be taken as toys that you flip on and flip out whenever you wish. sitting where I sit, I am not just going to believe that it is okay now because I saw you take the vaccine. It just goes ahead
Yeah.
to exacerbate the mistrust and the distrust. It goes ahead to say, well, all politicians are all the same. It goes ahead to just put the government in a bad spot. You understand? So that's not a convincing argument. They need to
In
have
your view,
apologized
the
and
people
be
who,
honest as to what led to their change of mind.
oh, so you are saying that the people who say there's no COVID-19, that is a hoax, should not just show up one day and take a vaccine with pictures because they are giving mixed messages to the people.
Absolutely.
They should actually lead them, say, okay, I changed my mind, now I think it's okay, you should take this.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying, because when you flip-flop on policies such as this, when you flip-flop on people's life, when you flip-flop on such an emergency, you create a gulf that cannot just be closed because of a photo op. No, it's not going to happen. You know, it requires accountability, honesty, and integrity to say, I was wrong. I never believed it because of XYZ, but where I am right now, I have come to that understanding, and that's why I'm taking the vaccine. Not just to take a photo shoot of you taking the vaccine and post it, and then that will be it.
But you know that the
Yeah.
politicians are not going to
Okay.
apologize.
Yeah, they're not. Okay. I am going to be driving
No
sometime very
problem.
soon.
Oh, thank you, Mercy, for
So,
coming along. When we need your help, we'll call upon you.
okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you, guys. And when the
Thank
vaccine
you.
is out, you guys need to get vaccinated.
All right.
When it is our turn, it's not our turn yet. We're waiting.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Okay, Pastor, now your turn. Let's hear you relate this to mental health as well. The same thing. You get mixed messages from politicians, from leaders about mental health, and then they tell people go get help.
I think the challenge here is that a lot of leaders, political leaders in particular, are expedient lifers. They do things as when it is expedient for them. And because their life is revolving around personal expediency, they say things and they make decisions and they talk about things as long as it benefits them. And that is the crutch of their life. And that's the challenge that people have when it comes to believing what comes out of government. Integrity, consistency are hallmarks that leads to conviction and that turns around the heart of people, even to things that they never were open to before. So with mental health issue, it is the same thing. When it is politically expedient, they talk about it. When it is not, even when you reach out to them, nobody will get back to you. You know very well what we do here at New Life. And I cannot tell you the number of communication I've sent to the executive president of Newcastle County, to the governor's office, to the lieutenant governor's office, and nobody responds to me. Why? It is not politically expedient for them. If it is, then they will. So it is the unfortunate dynamics of our society, and it has to change. It has to change. The mismessaging is very confusing. It puts people in a frame where they don't know what to believe, because when somebody is high up there, people naturally has an expectation of trustworthiness. But when that is lacking, is so difficult to win back the trust of people when it is lost.
Yeah, it's a very complicated issue in the sense that you need to build trust, and these people need to hold what you call to be held in at a certain level of esteem. But how they go, how we treat our leaders and how they treat issues is sometimes there is a disconnect. You understand? There is a disconnect because if I see a senator who yesterday said COVID-19 is a hoax, okay? And then after a week, I see him taking COVID-19 vaccination. What am I supposed to think?
I understand that frustration. Foremost is that it's very frustrating. Secondly, it is confusing. And thirdly, it is very, very distrusting of the institution that the person represents. And unfortunately, that institution is called the government. People don't look at their governmental leaders as individuals. They look at them as representatives of institutions. And when they who are representatives of institutions are acting in ways that are widening the gulf of distrust from their constituents to the institution of government and governance, then they are not doing good. They are not doing good to the community at all. I think that it is time for us to start holding people accountable through the electoral processes, through petitions, through public awareness and sensitization. We need to call people out. It's not a Republican thing or a Democrat thing to be bullish when you need to. There is need for that. You know, people need to call their offices and make their complaint and their dissatisfaction known to them. If a senator receives 2,000 calls every day from his state about the flip-flop, it will give him or her the idea that I'm really in hot waters. But if nobody challenges that and everybody say, well, that's what politicians do, then you just embolden that behavior and it continue to perpetuate in governance.
But you know that the approval rating for Congress is 29%. So anybody in Congress, so how do we get trusted message carriers to, because I expect somebody in Congress to lie. That's true. I expect the president to lie today. I know he will lie, okay? So other than bringing Mercy on and other healthcare providers who take the vaccine, how do we get reliable, trusted messengers to carry the message? Because, as I said, we expect the senators, the Congress people, the approval rating is 29. It's been there for less than 10 years, so nothing else. So where do we get? We get from the pastors.
I think that's a very interesting question, especially to the demographic we're speaking about, Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Mm-hmm. The last time we were on this segment, I talked about that today, we cannot continue to just look back at the rear view mirror of history. We need to look forward and look at the moment. Mm-hmm. How many Black people, how many Indigenous people, how many people of color are doctors, are nurses, are scientists, are epidemiologists, are virologists? These are men and women who have trust in their communities. They need to step up and start a comprehensive, collaborative community awareness. That is the way forward, not the Congress, not the president, not anybody. This is killing our people. And you are in a position where you understand the science behind the vaccine. You're in a position where you can demystify the myth of the distrust and mistrust. See it as your public good to your community to take up the baton of leadership and start collaborating and creating awareness. That is from the scientific world and the scientific field of Black people and indigenous people and people of color. To the religious organizations, pastors need to be open to invite, either through virtual means, doctors, scientists, to speak to their congregations and let their congregations have questions that they need to ask. That level of interaction needs to begin on a larger scale. I have not seen that beginning, but it needs to happen. Same with other people of faith. There are people within your faith organization who are scientists, who understand the science of this thing. Invite them. Let your church people have the opportunity to speak to somebody they can trust. Let your faith community have the opportunity to ask questions from people that look like them. If we start engaging in these levels, it will help. And finally, is what Mercy did. Every essential worker who gets vaccinated should consider it a civic duty to share his or her story, the challenges or the lack thereof. Update your followers, update people who trust you. I got the vaccine, 24 hours, this is where I am. If that can begin to take place, we will see a greater change in this hesitancy beginning to break.
Thank you very much, Pastor Morgan. I think our time is reached, and we can only tell our people that they should continue social distancing, they should continue wearing masks, they should continue washing their hands, and when the vaccine is available to them, they should be able to take it, so that we can be able to take care of this pandemic. And considering that the new strain is said to be 70% more infectious, although they say it doesn't make people more sick, but if it infects people 70% more people, that means it will put more people at risk. So again, that's another point to note, so that we continue doing what we need to do to be safe. Thank you, Pastor Morgan. We'll talk to you again next week.